Just because someone's labeled as a sleeper, it doesn't mean you have to draft them or have to rely on them to start the season. One of the biggest ways to find success in fantasy football is do your best to try to see the future and make moves before your league mates. That's right, today we're going to be talking about one sleeper on every NFL team. Some of these guys are going to have to be drafted. Some of them can maybe be thrown into some trade deals before they go off. Some of them actually may go undrafted, and then you just need to add them to your watch list and pay close attention when the season starts. Now, maybe you need some help monitoring some of these guys, or maybe you just want to stay in the know. That's why you should consider becoming a member here of the channel. Now, you do that by hitting the join button. Should be just below my finger here below the video. Now, there's multiple tiers to choose from, but all tiers get some level of access to Discord, which is a community we've built full of like-minded people without all that toxic crap on social media. Plus, you're going to get bonus content throughout the season, film reviews on players, flex rankings in season. That's a big one right there. Plus, Sunday morning live streams are for members only. Heck, even the highest tier on there gives you the ability to take out a ticket on Discord and basically discuss your fantasy football team one-on-one with me and Kyle. But I'm really a crappy salesman. I'll be the first one to admit that. So if we have any channel members out there right now, leave a comment down below and let people know what you think about being a member here on YouTube and whether or not they should join. But all right, I'm gonna need a drink of water here, because I'm about to do some like let it flow type ish here in the preseason. 32 players I gotta talk about, one from each team. Do I need the helmet for this? Should I get a preseason rep here and throw on the let it flow helmet? I mean, that's a tall task right here. This is a lot of names to talk about. All right, I mean, I need to get the reps. Just like a player does, I need off-season reps too. Here comes the helmet. I mean, I know y'all love the helmet, but this is a child-size helmet. My head is huge for this. All right. If you enjoy me doing Let It Flow here in the preseason, hit the like button. Let's see if we can get this video to 2,000 likes. All right, here we go. I don't even have Kyle here to count me in. This is really weird. I don't know if I've done this in the preseason before, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. Here we go. Let's kick it off. Start with the Buffalo Bills. And for the Bills, I'm going with Damien Harris. He's currently going 161st overall in fantasy football drafts. It's not like the Bills are crazy stocked with a lot of top-level weapons. What, you got Stephon Diggs, you got James Cook, maybe, and then a whole lot of hopefuls after that. Buffalo needs some veteran leadership and a running back with not only just experience, but a 15-touchdown season under his belt. I'll take it. Damien Harris. What about Miami? How about Devon Achane, currently going 139th overall, just returned to practice. Miami, they didn't get Dalvin Cook or Jonathan Taylor. Achane has been banged up, has dropped down some draft boards, but should be good to go for the regular season, and he is a speed demon that can make big plays happen. How about the New England Patriots? I'm going with the tight end still. Mike Gesicki, 203rd overall. Are you kidding me? This is a team that doesn't have a whole lot of offensive weapons to really compete inside their division. They're going to be trailing a lot, which means they're going to be throwing a lot. Mike Gesicki is a below average run blocker and pass blocker. Hunter Henry much better in that situation. I'm expecting Mike Gesicki to get some targets. How about the Jets now? Let's go Mecole Hardman, 250th overall. Corey Davis is retired. Randall Cobb is just old, and they just paid Mecole Hardman 4 years and $41 million. Sure, Garrett Wilson, he's going to be the alpha in this offense, and the running backs are going to get their fair share. But Mecole Hardman, another one of these guys that can take a short slant the distance with his speed. I can see him having some sleeper potential. All right, next, it's going to be Baltimore. How about Zay Flowers going 110th overall? Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham haven't really proved that they've been able to stay healthy. Plus, Flowers has some first-round draft capital, and he is by far the most explosive weapon at the wide receiver position on the team. Cincinnati, how about Irv Smith Jr., 225th overall? Is this the year that we let Irv swerve a little bit? The offense has proven to be able to utilize a tight end. We saw it with Hayden Hurst just last year. Really, the only downfall he has over his career is his health. If this guy can stay healthy, I can see him around the neighborhood of 800 yards and 5 touchdowns as a late-round tight end stash. Cleveland. What about Elijah Moore? 143rd overall as of right now. Somebody who really isn't mentioned very much in Cleveland, but his skill is through the roof. He's always just needed a consistent opportunity, and now he should get that in Cleveland. How about for Pittsburgh? Jaylen Warren. I know it's crazy to call him a sleeper, but the dude is still 158th overall in ADP. He's going to have a role on this offense. Now, no, probably not going to be a 50-50 split with Najee, but still a solidified role heading into the season. Somebody that could have some flex-worthy appeal even to start the year. Jaylen Warren, huge sleeper still, because 158th overall? But then we go down to Houston, and once again, I'm going to talk about Nico Collins. I've talked about him for months. Now, sure, the name, it's not very sexy, but to draft a team's #1 wide receiver this late in fantasy football drafts is a no-brainer. He is really the only big-bodied wide receiver on the team, should get plenty of looks inside the red zone and the deep balls down the field. How about Indianapolis? Let's go with Josh Downs. Basically undrafted, 267th overall. Now, a lot of people expected the slot role to go to Isaiah McKenzie, who came over from Buffalo this offseason. Isaiah McKenzie just got cut, which means it's Josh Downs' time in the slot. Right now, there's only 3 wide receivers on this roster. Josh Downs he's got to get some somebody's got to catch some balls in Indianapolis. Josh Downs in the slot, not a bad option. How about Jacksonville? Really hard to find a sleeper in Jacksonville because everybody's really high on this offense. Let's still talk about Christian Kirk. He's going 76th overall, and a lot of people have dropped him down their draft boards because of the addition of Calvin Ridley. What they don't understand is this offense is going to throw the ball a lot, and there is still a clear path to Christian Kirk getting 120 plus targets. They paid this guy a lot of money. He already has chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, and you're getting him at a discount here in 2023. What about Tennessee? We got TYJAE Spears, 224th overall. Derrick Henry is still king, but with Hassan Haskins gone, do not be surprised if we see some Spears at some point this season. Now, no, I'm not calling for a Derrick Henry injury. I would never do that. That would suck. But what I'm saying is this kid is actually a pretty good running back, and we've started to see glimpses of it here in the preseason. Don't be surprised if he's the guy that spells Henry from time to time and could develop a solid fantasy role, especially if something did happen to the king. What about Denver? Let's talk about Marvin Mims Jr., 230th overall. Tim Patrick is out. KJ Hamler is out. Jerry Jeudy is already banged up. Marvin Mims gonna get targets to start the year, and at 230th overall, I don't know if you can find somebody at a cheaper price that's going to get this immediate target share. Kansas City, we got JERICK McKinnon, 121st overall. The one really reliable piece in this offense after Travis Kelce. We have a lot of expectations for a lot of other guys, but really the only other person in this offense to really produce consistently year after year, it's got to be JERICK McKinnon. How about the Las Vegas Raiders? Let's talk about Jacoby Myers, 144th overall. He was brought in during free agency to soak up a lot of those targets and move the chains underneath. He may not have sexy touchdown numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if he approaches 80 receptions and you're getting him at a cheap price. What about the Los Angeles Chargers? Tight end, Gerald Everett, 162nd overall. He's coming off a season in which he had 550 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. Now he gets a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore, who we have really seen utilize the tight end in Dallas in the past few years. Gerald Everett in a high-powered passing offense could be a surprise as well. Holy crap, that was just the AFC. Now we're getting into the NFC. Dallas. Let's talk about Deuce Vaughn, 173rd overall. It's really crazy to think that the Dallas Cowboys didn't add another veteran running back this offseason, but they didn't. Deuce Vaughn could be the change of pace back running back in this backfield to Tony Pollard, and could surprise some people here from time to time. What about the New York Giants? I'm still going with Jalin Hyatt, 163rd overall, one of the fastest wide receivers in football. On a team full of wide receivers that are always hurt every single year, this guy is going to get an opportunity in 2023. How about Philadelphia now? Kenneth Gainwell, 178th overall. Shocking to some people that he's actually number 2 on the depth chart behind DeAndre Swift and ahead of Rashad Penny. But he provided a spark to this team late in the season and into the playoffs. He's earned more touches and is still going to be involved. What about the Washington Commandos? Let's talk about Curtis Samuel, 234th overall currently. We know that Terry McLaurin is dealing with turf toe. That is an injury that can linger throughout the season. You already know how much I love Sam Howell, but he's going to have to throw it to somebody. Curtis Samuel could see that bump. But let's move down to Chicago now. It's Darnell Mooney, 169th overall. He had a connection with Justin Fields just 2 years ago and then was injured most of last season. A true deep ball threat that is really a little bit more boom or bust, but in an offense in which they're going to have to throw the ball, I love myself some Darnell Mooney still as a late round sleeper. For Detroit, let's go Marvin Jones Jr. Dude ain't being drafted. 341st overall, but he's back in Detroit in a high-powered offense, and they have no Jameson Williams for 6 weeks. He could be somebody that you could kind of bridge the gap for a couple weeks to start the season if needed. Hopefully you don't start the season needing Marvin Jones, but if you're in a deep league looking for some sleeper potential, Marvin Jones. How about Green Bay? Let's talk about the quarterback. It's Jordan Love, 180th overall. This kid was written off before he's ever been given a chance. But every time you turn on film of Jordan Love this preseason, he really looks like a solid quarterback too in fantasy football. Maybe not some top 12 guy, but a top 18 to 15 quarterback. It would not surprise me here in 2023. But then we have Minnesota. It's KJ Osborne, 181st overall. We saw him have a couple huge games the end of 2022, and he scored a touchdown in the playoffs. Everyone wants to think that this is going to be either Jordan Addison or KJ Osborne. That is incorrect. The correct answer is both. They're both going to have an opportunity to eat in this offense because they throw the ball so much. Down to the Falcons. I'm starting to go cross-eyed. Things are getting a little bit blurry, but we're going to push forward. For the Falcons, I guess we're going to go MAC HOLLINS. There's really not a whole lot on this team after Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. I would love for this to be Tyler Algier, but if I'm trying to find somebody who has a chance at some fantasy points, someone else in this offense is going to have to step up. Why not MAC HOLLINS and his flowing hair and his ridiculously huge body that we've seen this preseason? Carolina, Adam Thielen, 128th overall. DJ Chark is already banged up. He's hurt. I'm loving myself some Jonathan Mingo, but he really may be a little bit more big play dependent. Thielen, he's going to become the binky of rookie quarterback Bryce Young. Then we have New Orleans. It's Rashid Shaheed, 249th overall. We love the deep ball possibilities between Chris Olave and Derek Carr. We've talked about that for months, but Shaheed can do a lot of the same things. And we already know that Michael Thomas hasn't really been the model of health for the last few years. If he were to go down, Shaheed's going to get an opportunity to put up bigger numbers. Tampa Bay. How about Sean Tucker, 287th overall, and a lot of you out there just said, who the hell is Sean Tucker? Well, this is kind of what happens to teams that don't perform well in training camp. Guys who we really shouldn't be talking about made names for themselves because they went out there and took it seriously. Sean Tucker earned first team reps here this offseason. Now, he's not a bad running back at all. I'm not taking anything away from Sean Tucker. There's going to need to be some injuries on this offense, though, in order for him to see decent regular season volume. Unfortunately, everybody is overly enamored with the name value of guys on this team. Mike Evans really isn't a sleeper. Chris Godwin isn't really a sleeper. We could talk about Cade Otton, maybe. A lot of people love Rachaad White. The sleeper here to me, Sean Tucker. And then last but not least, the NFC West, Arizona. Let's go with wide receiver Michael Wilson. Really not being drafted either. Honestly, this guy is the most underrated rookie wide receiver right now in the NFL. The only reason he's not getting more publicity, more push, is because of the team he plays on, and they've already started to tank. He's going to have an immediate target share with no DeAndre Hopkins. The only other thing they really have is going to be Marquise Hollywood Brown and then Rondale Moore, who hasn't been anything in the NFL here just yet. What's also holding Michael Wilson back? The quarterback play. Is it going to be Josh Dobbs? Is it going to be rookie fifth rounder Clayton Tune? Neither one overly appealing, and that's why you haven't heard more about Michael Wilson, but a very talented wide receiver. The Rams, it's Tyler Higbee, 132nd overall. Now, finding tight ends late in your fantasy football drafts that actually get targets is almost impossible, but Tyler Higbee has had at least 80 plus targets now in 3 of the last 4 seasons, and in an offense that really has the fewest amount of offensive weapons that we've seen in quite some time, once again, Tyler Higbee gonna get his. in San Francisco, another team that I really struggled to find a sleeper. But what about Elijah Mitchell, 138th overall in fantasy drafts? Really has struggled on his own with injuries, but however, when he's been healthy, he has produced. We saw him split touches at times with Christian McCaffrey just last year, and what happens if CMC were to go down? The value absolutely skyrockets for Elijah Mitchell. And then lastly, Seattle. And I'm going to give this thing everything I got because it's going to be Zach Charbonnet of the Seattle Seahawks, 111th overall. Another team, not a whole lot of options to really choose from. I'm not going to pick Noah Fant. He's not going to be good in fantasy football. But the Seahawks drafted this guy for a reason, and Kenneth Walker is already not 100%. If Zach Charbonnet gets a chance in this offense, he's going to put up some decent fantasy numbers, especially if they're not really splitting touches due to a Kenneth Walker injury. All right, that was tough. You can tell I'm a little bit rusty. I needed the preseason reps. I'm about to pass out. I got double vision right now. I can barely swallow. I need more water. My water's gone. But hopefully you enjoyed hearing one sleeper from every single NFL team here right before the season starts. Remember, you don't need to determine a sleeper as someone that's going to have to start for you right away, or even somebody that has to be drafted, right? Try to look at these guys as the season starts, include them in some trades if you need to, because you never know when they get the opportunity to pop off and help your fantasy football team. If you enjoyed the show today, for the love of God, I wore a child-sized helmet the entire time. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Consider subscribing so we can absolutely help you dominate in all things fantasy football here this offseason, but I need a nap.